The delicate process that has to happen right now is to somehow get this mouse from a hungry green tree python. So at the end of the last episode, I had recorded some footage of me setting up my new room. So another thing I have to do is get all the clothes out of here. I already started, did a lot of them so far, but so I can just put snake stuff in this closet. So I have moved all the clothes out successfully. As you can see, now it's just snake stuff left. And for some reason I really like having open space. The more open space, the better. I love things being a little empty. I hate feeling crowded. So this is definitely a step up, and I'm excited to work in here more. And then I realized that that didn't really fit into any of the episodes, so what I'm going to do is add on to that footage that I took the other day, and I'm going to explain some of my favorite reptile products by basically what's being kept in my drawer that I organized of all my supplies. I guess that naturally brings me to our first piece of equipment that I keep at the ready all times. Should be tongs. These are pliers. You'd be a lot more legit if you had tongs though, but these work. You know, sometimes when the mouse isn't warm enough, for some reason the green tree python will strike it and then wrap it up, but then not take it. So the delicate process that has to happen right now is to somehow get this mouse from a hungry green tree python. Yeah, I don't know if this is gonna work. She does not want to budge. Alright, so what I did was distract her with the camera, which obviously doesn't put off much heat. So I was able to sneak my hand past the camera and get the mouse out of there. Not really worried about her not eating this one. It's not really a big deal. The first drawer is where I'm just keeping some of the medical stuff. This is iodine, which I've been using to clean out the mouth of the girl with the abscess. And then these were injections in here. And I use a rag to, you know, grab her behind the head. It kind of saves me from that reach around when you get them by the head. Sometimes they move really fast and reach around and bite you and latch on you. So just trying to avoid that. But this is where I'm going to be keeping all the medical stuff. This next one just has some heat tape in it. I always find myself with straggling pieces of like 2 feet of heat tape that you never know what to do with. So I keep it, and I don't really know why, because it's usually too small of a portion to do anything with. As well as a paper towel roll. Sometimes I use these for hides for colubrids. They like to burrow in there. And then PVC for dowels. And then here's just some screws and stuff that actually go into the animal plastic racks. Next up, newspaper, which is obviously what I use as a substrate for most of the pythons that I keep. Actually, all the pythons that I keep. I like to keep the colubrids on Sandy chip, but I do like to keep the pythons on newspaper. Pythons don't usually burrow at all, so it's definitely a reasonable substrate as far as easy to clean, easy to replace. Just throw it out, put new newspaper in there. It is free to get, you know, if you go in. It is free to get. You go into a lot of grocery stores and they will have newspapers that are for free, so that's always good. And then for the colubrids, why I do keep them on Sandy chip like this is because they do like to burrow. Most, if not all, the species burrow at least sometimes. You can see she's kind of half burrowed right now. But yeah, it just gives them more area to work with. The more natural behaviors you can get the snakes to do in captivity, the better, I believe. So that's why I do that. For some of the snakes that need higher humidity, I do keep them on REPTILE chip, which is what I'm keeping right there. I do break down the block ahead of time. And also I want to make sure that it's not too moist. I mean, in order to break down the block, you do have to soak it. But I want to make sure that it's not so soaked that I have a damp, you know, product hanging out here, because it will attract bugs, it will attract stuff to grow in it. So this is mostly done by hand, just really hard, breaking it apart when it's pretty dry, so I can keep that dry and it has a longer shelf life like that if I want to just keep it handy to put it in the enclosures whenever I clean, because I'm not using, you know, a whole chip at once. Using it, you know, it needs to have a shelf life. I need to break it down ahead of time and just leave it there and wait until I need it. But obviously I do need to get some more newspaper. This next drawer is just assorted Deli Cups, as well as a Maxima 256, which is disinfectant, a veterinary cleaner. This I got from my vet. If you go to your vet, you say, hey, I need some type of cleaner, they'll give it to you. I don't remember exactly how expensive it was. It was maybe $20, if that. And I've had this. This says 2014. So that is a very long time. All it takes is half an ounce of this to a gallon of water. So you're filling that up halfway. That little half ounce compared to this whole big thing. You can put that in a whole gallon of water and then place part of that gallon in your spray bottle. And then you're ready to disinfect your enclosure, and it's obviously a safe sterilizer cleanser for reptiles. And then there are Deli Cups in here. You never know what you're gonna need a Deli Cup for. So this hognose has been a little fussy about eating recently. When I first got him, I had to feed him scented pinkies, and how I would scent them is with tuna.
Bumblebee tuna. Bumblebee tuna. Hi there, nice to see you. Bumblebee tuna? Bumblebee tuna! Ace Ventura, pet detective. How are you this afternoon? Alrighty then.
So essentially all I was doing was rolling a pinky around in some tuna juice, and then he would take it right away. And then I eventually stopped giving him pinkies with tuna on it, and then he took a few pinkies unscented, and now he's back to not eating. And I wanted to try the Deli Cup method. So sometimes if you put a snake in a smaller kind of enclosure, or, you know, a Deli Cup, they can't really avoid the food, so he sees it easily, and sometimes for whatever reason that will make them feed. It obviously didn't work. So now we're gonna have to get this little pinky away from, or this fuzzy rather, away from him. So let's have fun. You can see he's very happy about coming out. I find hognose to be some of the most attentive as far as paying attention to when you open the enclosure and reacting to you. Come on in. I was going to feed this fuzzy to someone else, and I'm really liking the way that gut looks. Sometimes when you warm these up a little bit too warm, they're going to like somewhat liquefy in the belly, and they're very easily popped. So when a snake strikes this, the guts and everything will go all over. It's pretty nasty. Also what I have here is Mite Off. This isn't the best product to use for mites. I mean, I could do a whole episode on how to get rid of mites. I mean, they're terrible. Anyone who has a larger collection or is kept for a certain amount of time, you've probably had mites. Not sure exactly where they come from, but you'll see little black. You can't tell if they're bugs, just kind of little black, almost looks like specks of dirt. But if you hold your animal, you look at your arm after, and there seems to be something black crawling on it, that's what's going on. Or if you see your animal start going in the water bowl for extended periods of time, and it's not an animal that's usually in the water bowl, you might want to check it out. So how I take care of mites is I usually soak the animal, make sure all the mites are off after it gets out of soaking. This Mite Off spray is one of the only things that can go on the skin of the animal. I'm not going to tell you it works great. I mean, you can also use olive oil for this. Olive oil, which, I mean, this is just corn oil, water, carrot, glycerin, onion powder. It's basically oil itself. So what the oil does is just put a thick layer over your animal, and it suffocates the mites. they drown in it, and it's too thick for the mites to get out of. So that's always good. But if you soak the animal, you see the mites crawl up to, if they're poking their head out, then they'll crawl up to your head. The mites drown in water, so definitely that first soak initially is important. And then while they're soaking, take out the enclosure, wash everything, sterilize the whole rack. I mean, you want to go through, if animals are in the same room, you might want to go through and wash everyone. Of course, paying mind to washing yourself in between messing with the animals, because if one rack has mites and then you start cleaning the other rack, then you're gonna just spread it to the other rack. So you wanna keep as sterile as possible the whole time. They can be really pesky to get rid of. And then after you've cleaned your enclosure, you're going to take all your substrate out, just the tub. And what you're going to do is give it a good spray. And don't forget to clean the top of the rack as well. So it's not just the tub, you need to clean the top of the rack. And then you're gonna spray with some prevenamite. Can't go on the animal, but what you wanna do is spray it in the enclosure when it's all sterilized, and then put your tub back in, kind of let it cloud up a little bit, and then let it settle for maybe 20 minutes to a half hour, and then let it air out, and then you're ready to put your animal back in. And for the most part, this will end the life cycle of the mites. I mean, it's probably the best thing that I've found to get rid of mites, and I've done that successfully a couple of times. Sometimes mites they seem to come from when I take colubrids out of brumation. Sometimes they'll come back with mites. You know, they're compromised during that stage. And if you hear anything about mites, it's not because someone's not keeping their animals right. It's just poor happenstance, or you know, you get it from an animal that you brought in from another collection that you just bought. You just want to be cognizant and take care of it and be as immediate as possible. Don't wait to take care of it. The longer you wait, the faster it spreads, and it can just get way out of control. Of course, my favorite hides for colubrids, the egg crates, are in here. So I just have a whole bunch stacked up, ready to cut up whenever I'm ready to. Basically, whenever they go to the bathroom in the egg crate, I'm just gonna throw the egg crate out and cut up a new one. So it makes it real easy to clean for me. I don't have to deal with cleaning off hides or anything like that. I can pre-cut a whole bunch of them and we're ready to go. And then these are just old thermostats. This one I probably need a new fuse for. And then this is the Herp Power proportional thermostat from Big Apple Herp, and it's old and not that great, so that's why I don't use it anymore. Other than that, that's pretty much it. I really like this room. We moved all of our clothes out from here, and now I just put snake supplies in here. And honestly, I'm running a little low on snake supplies. I need Sani chip. I've just been using like a Zoomed brand of Sani chip. I need to get the real stuff. These are my thermostats hanging up here. And then these are just extra tubs. You always need tubs. And then some boxes just in case. I don't like to really reuse boxes, but if any reason I've had to ship an animal fast, you know, you might want to keep a couple around. Otherwise, you know, just buy a new box every time, but it may take you time to get in if you don't have one on hand. So for right now, I'm just keeping those just in case. And then of course my snake hook and the dog food. But I mean, that is it. It's a lot less cluttered in here, which makes it easier to film, easier to work, easier to clean everything. The worst thing is to be in a super cluttered room and working with animals. So I'm glad we moved everything and we're doing it like this now. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. And if you made it this far, you're on the team.